McElhaney. I'm the proponent for Torrance and Knoll, and I'm here to answer any questions that council may have. So rather than appear as delegation, I guess we'll wait to see what comes up in the agenda. Is that fine there?
Yeah.
All right. So motion to adopt the agenda would be in order.
Moved.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. Minutes of meetings. We have the April 18th council meeting minutes for approval.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Motion's carried. We have the committee of the whole meeting minutes of April 24th for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. On receipt, then all those in favor? Motion's carried. And there were two recommendations coming out of that that were passed at the committee of the whole. Firstly, that the bylaw 1726, the Mox financial plan bylaw be reported to this council meeting for first, second, and third readings.
Is that? Second.
Okay, any discussion at this time? And we will be having presumably discussion later in the meeting on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? 3 opposed, motion's carried. And secondly, that bylaw 1727, Comox tax rates bylaw reported to this council meeting for first, second, and third readings.
Second.
Any further discussion this time? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion's carried. 3 opposed. We have the April 4th special meeting of council. Those, I think, are the public hearing minutes for approval.
Move that.
Second.
Second. On approval then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then the April 2nd advisory planning commission meeting minutes for receipt.
Move those.
Second. And those are related to Torrance and Knoll, I do believe. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Just one quick question.
Yes,
Has the application been referred to the Traffic Safety Committee?
I think we'll be discussing that shortly. I don't believe it has yet.
Okay. I just wondered when it met.
Yeah, it needs ad hoc.
Okay.
But when we get to the report on page 75, I think there's some discussion on that. So, under unfinished business then, moving to manager report at page 23 for receipts.
Move receipt.
Great. On receipt then, all in favor? Motion's carried. Don't believe there's any updates to report on there, Mr. Wood?
No, not this one.
I just have one quick question. With the management report, does everything go on? I've been following the paper. You know, people have been bringing up about the dog park, and it was something at the end of the last council that...
All right.
Yeah, so I just wondered whether that's something that would ordinarily go on the management
On
report.
request by council.
Because there was going to be a meeting and...
Yeah, the motion was tabled pending a public forum being held in conjunction with the city clerk. So it's still on the books as a motion. So that'll happen. And I'm sure that once budgets here are done for both of our respective communities, staff will follow up on that.
Great, yeah, I realise that there's been a lot to do with the strategic planning and the budget. But, I just wondered, so it's on request of councillors that they get on the management report?
Yeah, basically a council direction.
Thanks. Maybe it would be good to have it on because there is interest in it.
For council, so that'd be the off-leash, off-park motion and public forum, etc. Language, is council okay with that? All right. We won't bother with a formal motion. That's just direction. Okay. Thank you for that. We have page 25. Then we have the third reading report regarding 2310 Guthrie Road, and there are 2 recommendations here. And to do with the zoning bylaw amendments for third reading, and also the phase development agreement for third reading. So, council, if you wish to make a motion, at least for the zoning bylaw amendment, to get it on the floor for discussion.
I'll move that.
I'll second. All right. So, bylaw 1718 has been moved at third reading. That's the zoning bylaw amendment, and certainly open for discussion at this time. Councillor Fletcher, then Price.
Thank you. given this a lot of thought and consideration, and I think what I really heard strongly from the community, which made me give it some really serious thought, was the impact we make on our downtown whenever we approve lands to be zoned commercially outside of the downtown core. And I certainly have pointed fingers at various communities over the years saying, oh, look what that big box store did. But we're a smaller community, but I truly believe that every little piece affects the downtown. And being that we really saw that it was our mandate to address the issues in our downtown core, I believe that I will not support this application at this time, and with that consideration, we'll hear from other members of council.
Okay, I think Councillor Price was next.
Yes, and
Councillor John.
yes, and I also won't be supporting it. Everyone at the public hearing, apart from the previous landowner developer, spoke against this development. And I do strongly recommend that developers put their plans to the affected community first, to work with the community to resolve concerns. And public hearings where all the surrounding community turns up and says, we strongly object, give me a lot of cause for concern. I'd like to see that when a developer submits his or her plans to the planning department, there is information on what consultation has happened and what comments received. We see this often with single householders who submit a letter from their neighbours, and I know in other municipalities it is a requirement. It's one of the boxes you tick when your application is submitted as to what input has been from the neighbourhood or the public. For development of this size, it is even more essential, and I would like to see that it is something we require from the planning department. Given the strong public objection to this proposal, I cannot support it.
I think Councillor Tom, you're next.
Well, I'm shocked because, we went through a lengthy, probably a 2-year process that we spent in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $300,000 developing our official community plan. Well, when you include the traffic study and that, it gets up to $300,000. The official community plan is the guiding document to anybody who comes into this city, or this town, and wants to develop. And if we deny this permit, this rezoning application that is totally consistent with the OCP, and the ink is still wet on that document, what faith can anybody have in our OCP? Because if we're not following our OCP, the whole thing has been a waste of time and a waste of money, because nobody will have any faith in it. You can buy a piece of land, buy your house thinking that right behind it is parkland, and the next thing you know, we could rezone it. Because who cares if it's consistent with the OCP or not? We're not. Here we are with the first document that has come before us for rezoning that's consistent with our official community plan, and we have people speaking against it. This is just, I don't know, it just goes against the 2 years that we put into it. We've wasted our time if we don't approve something that is totally consistent with the OCP, totally consistent with all the public hearings and the public input that we had in that document. We've wasted our time. And I just feel that we have to show the people who are trying to come into this town to develop that we have faith and strength in our OCP. And so I have to support it, or else we should get rid of the OCP.
Councillor King,
yeah, thank you. I think that to use the impact on the downtown is a bit of a red herring, to be honest with you. You couldn't have two different areas than a commuter route and a destination of your downtown. I would note that we have 3 new businesses that have opened in our downtown in the last month. We have 1 vacancy between Church Street and Stewart on a retired street right now. We are putting together a plan for redevelopment in our downtown. We've got an economic development strategy coming through the Economic Development Society for our downtown. And we've got a density plan, our strategic plan talks all about that. I don't think that you're going to get, your downtown is a completely different marketplace, and I think you need both to make it work. I don't believe that your downtown should be at the whim of every little development that wants to come up. It has to be able to stand alone if it's going to be sustainable at all. So the other thing that we have in our town over the long haul, in my estimation, is we have a bit of a shortage of commercial property, not a glut of it. And if you look into a 20-year plan, which OCPs often are, we don't have a lot. By the time you get past this piece, the piece beside Quality Foods, the next phase of the Shoppers Drug Mart, there's not much left out there. And so I would disagree with using the downtown as part of your rationale for not going ahead with this. I think you're talking about apples and oranges.
Okay. Any other speakers to the matter at hand? Okay. I believe that this project is worthwhile supporting. I believe the OCP spoke to that issue. It's been actually designated for commercial development for some time. I believe that the developer has made some steps to buffer the residential areas. And I think when we saw the plans at the first instance, it represents a very sustainable way of doing development. And of course, it is important to have commercial within neighborhoods to allow people to potentially walk to those services and amenities. And there is a shortage on a long-term basis, as Councillor Tangrand has pointed out, of commercial. And I think when I look at this, I look at what it's going to look like 10 years out when it's all complete. And I think that we'll find that that kind of development will serve our community well into the future. So I'll be giving support. So no further speakers. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? 3 opposed, so motion is carried. And the accompanying bylaw 1720, which is the phased development agreement.
Move third reading.
Second.
Any discussion on the phased development bylaw this time? Seeing none, I'll ask all those in favor. Those opposed? 3 opposed, motion is carried. All right, moving on to the special reports. We have, first of all, just a Horizon report. At a special in-camera meeting held on Wednesday, March 28th, the Council resolved to enter into the Municipal Police Unit Agreement with the Province of BC, and that's simply to report that. And then secondly, under special reports, we have for receipt the CBRD board meeting minutes of March 27th, as well as the hospital district meeting minutes of March 15th. Just for receipt.
Second.
And discussion on those, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, so that brings us to bylaws. So bylaw 1726, which is the Comox Financial Plan Bylaw 2012, is before us for first, second, and third reading.
Second.
Seconder. Okay. Discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? 3 opposed. Motion is carried. And the tax rates bylaw 1727, first, second, and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Those opposed?
No, I hold my hand.
2 opposed or 3?
3.
Thank you.
Coming to all of that.
Yeah.
All right, so those are passed. And just a reminder that there will be a brief special council meeting before next week's committee of the whole to consider adoption of those bylaws. Okay, under new business, we have the Torrance and Knoll development here before us. This is the introductory report, or first and second reading report. That's page 75. Planner is here, certainly to answer any questions. I know that Councillor Price, you had a question about the traffic study. So perhaps before we consider first and second reading, ask our planner just to comment on that question, and then we can address other ones.
Certainly. No, the application hasn't been referred to the traffic committee. In regards to traffic analysis, we're lucky that we have the 2011 traffic study that was done, which gave us a up-to-date indication of not only traffic loads in terms of vehicle trips, but also in terms of speeding. and also looked at the incidence of accidents. It does not, that intersection does not, in the traffic study, have a high incidence of accidents in comparison to the town, or in comparison to the standard that the traffic study has set for the town in terms of indicating a high traffic accident intersection. Referral to the traffic committee, really the only additional technical data that would be available would be accidents or incidents that have occurred since the 2011 traffic study data that was done. So we did check with the RCMP. The RCMP does not have any record of accidents or tickets in that time period.
Was that message passed on to the Advisory Planning Commission? I noticed they were the ones who recommended that it be referred.
The Advisory Planning Commission had all the information that was in Schedule 2 in terms of the recent history. In terms of up to the 2011 traffic study, we did not have that information in terms of contacting the RCMP at that time. So subsequent to the APC is when we contacted the RCMP to see if they had any additional more recent accident histories.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions?
I'd just like to ask, since that traffic study's been done, Brooklyn School is closed. So if anything, the traffic would be less than what the traffic study indicated when it was complete.
Sorry, Patty, go ahead.
Just a question on process. I'm just wondering how, so this application dovetails with the other bylaw that we're going to address in the next part of the meeting. I'm just curious how that all dovetails right on there.
Talking about secondary suites?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it would be, it is a standalone, so regardless of what would occur on the other bylaw, the proposed rezoning would allow secondary suites. If the other bylaw is adopted, then the surrounding properties as well would be allowed secondary suites. So, and in this property as well, so let me back up. So if this rezoning was refused and it remained R1.1, the adoption of the second bylaw would allow secondary suites on the property. It's another way of
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Price.
Yes, and has there been any consultation, do you know, with the surrounding neighbours? I always find that when people actually know what's going on and are consulted, there's a better outcome than when there's rumour and I'm a great believer that people should have a say in how their neighbourhood develops and that it's reaching a win-win situation on all sides. So I much prefer to see that there has been some discussion with the neighbourhood and some ideas of how the neighbourhood stands on it. Do you know if anything
I think anyone who knocked on doors in that neighborhood during the last election knows exactly how some of the neighbors feel. They are well aware of what's been proposed. As far as what efforts that the developer may have made, I'll just ask for indulgence of council. If Derek, do you have any input on that?
We haven't canvassed the area for input from the immediate neighbors. Obviously, in concert with any application for rezoning, town staff circulate within 500 meters or whatever that distance is from the property, seeking input. We have reviewed the results of that input, and really there hasn't been anything of concern. Really. There was a couple of traffic concerns noted, but I don't believe that they had all of the 2011 traffic study information available. In my experience, generally speaking, people that are happy with or don't have opposition to the development really don't write into the town. Or I've canvassed areas in the past looking for support, or either pro or against the development, and people generally, if they're not against the development, they really don't have a comment. And, by way of background, further to Tom Grant's earlier discussion, the rationale for this application is the town's recent OCP recommending a higher density of this infill type development. So that's the primary rationale for the developer pursuing this rezoning, one step down from R1.1 to R32. So I recognize that there's been half a dozen maybe letters into staff and council opposing the development, but the thought of the developer and my opinion that the input of the community outweighs the 5 or 6 people that may have minor objections to the development.
All right, thank you, Derek. Any further questions?
Just a clarification though, we don't canvass the neighbourhood, do we? We notify people of a public hearing, or in this case, have we canvassed the neighbourhood? Have we shown people the layout for the...
What we do on a major rezoning is we strongly advise the applicant to go to the neighborhood twice. Go to the neighborhood once to introduce themselves, advise what they're thinking of doing. Then once they've heard the concerns, to go back to the neighborhood with a concept prior to submitting to the town. We don't, as a general rule, include documentation on that process. In our applications, if the developer wishes to make that known as part of their presentation, and one of the reasons for that is we have no control over the events or the information presented. When we do on a rezoning like this, it's on all rezonings we will do a newspaper advertisement on a property where we have a small number of properties affected. Like this one, we will also do a notice, mail-out notice to all property owners and tenants within 75 meters of the property.
To tell them of the public hearing?
Tell them of the public hearing, yes.
So
Councillor Price, just there's other discussion here. Before we get to a motion, I just would point out that we did have an introductory report to council back on March 21st, at which time we referred it to the Advisory Planning Commission. So if council at that time wanted further public input, that's certainly one opportunity would have been to do so. But I guess before we get into the meat of this, is this another question around process?
I was just for clarification, I wasn't quite clear. So consultation didn't happen. You were mentioning that you recommend to people, but as far as you know, that didn't happen.
No, as indicated in this case, the applicant proceeded on the basis of the OCP.
Thank you.
And I do know that the neighborhood is aware generally of the layout. They were very proactive in that regard.
I just have one question that did come up at the Advisory Planning Committee, and just clarification, if I could. Currently, they would be able to do 7 lots, is that correct?
Currently, we have had past proposals that did not proceed, the applicant withdrew, that showed 7 lots. The maximum, if we just apply minimum parcel size and frontage, would indicate they could get 8 lots.
So we're really just talking about the difference between 8 and 10?
Yes, because in this case, the proposed covenant in the outstanding items, because we need to know the driveway accesses for the protection of the transit stop, would then limit them to an absolute 10.
Okay. Thank you. So, process questions now. Hopefully, if somebody cares to move this so we can have a discussion.
First and second.
Thank you.
Second.
Yeah, first and second reading. Open for discussion. This is the zoning bylaw amendment. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I want to thank Garrett for introducing what I was going to say on this, but here again, we went through the process of our OCP, and we talked at great length all through the OCP process and in other meetings about how we have to be careful with how we develop these small parcels, these infill parcels in our community, because we don't have large tracts of land that we can grow out on. And in our OCP, we designated this as residential infill. And this proposal is totally in keeping with our OCP. And it's keeping in line with our philosophy about densifying and infilling these existing properties. So I'm going to speak strongly in favor of this application. And, you know, we get 2 extra lots. I think that there are 3 extra lots. I think that that's a net benefit to the town.
Right, and of course, this would go to public hearing after we get
Yes,
first and
of
second
course.
reading. Yes. Some hands went up, Councillor Fletcher, then Price.
Thank you. And just to add to that, I think any time we can build on existing infrastructure, it's a benefit to the town and to all the taxpayers. We're not incurring any additional infrastructure costs, and so I feel that it's a wise project to be presented. Thank you.
Councillor Price?
Yes, and I just wanted to say I certainly do support it going to public hearing, and so we can hear what the community input is to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion at first and second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
I'll move to proceed to public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And do you know approximately when?
No, for that one.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, that will be scheduled and you'll be notified accordingly. Okay, at page 89, we have the rezoning application RZ 12-7, expanding the zones which permit secondary suites, and we have bylaw 1723 for first and second reading.
Can we move both recommendations at the same time?
We should do them separately.
Okay, we'll do them. Okay, I'll do that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? I know this was identified in our strategic plan as a priority, and I do thank staff for bringing that forward in a relatively quick manner. So, I don't know if there's any further comments. Go ahead, Councilor Fletcher.
Just a comment that I think this is a very exciting and innovative piece that we're putting in our town, and we tread carefully over the years, and I think this is a nice big step that we can take to ensure that our town has the ability to not only have maybe more affordable housing for some people, but to care for elderly in their home or family situations. So I think it's a really nice economic piece and a social piece. Thank you.
It also allows, assuming it passes after public hearing, staff to deal with this on a building permit basis as opposed to a rezoning basis, which will free up our planning staff for time. We've had a number of these, over 20 it says in your report, so certainly a step to move forward. Councilor Price.
Yes, and I think the town's policy of only allowing secondary suites in owner-occupied buildings has proved very successful. As far as I know, there has never been one turned down on the rezoning application. So, and I think it's a slow take-up, but you know, given the level of satisfaction when it happens, it does seem to be quite labour-intensive and costly to the town, and adds cost to and time to the applicant. So it certainly has a lot of merit.
It would also serve to rationalize the fact that most of our new subdivisions have that allowance built into them already, so we can put them on the same footing as long as they meet building code requirements. So on first and second reading, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And Councillor Cangrant, wish to move the public hearing?
Sure.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Force leading me, already got.
Okay, and Councillor Price, you're going to give us some wording around the CETA matter, this Clean European Union Comprehensive Treaty.
Okay, I thought with a notice of motion I was saying that it was coming to the next meeting.
Sure, so
Just to give people a heads up.
just give us a flavor of what you're going to be asking.
Basically, there is a lot of concern about local government and what impact this could have on local government.
Okay.
And I think if there's any risk to local governments being able to make their own decision, whether it's hiring locally and how it looks at contracts,
Okay.
then I think that we'd be best to remove from it. Some people say it's a non-issue, and if it's a non-issue, removing us from it doesn't matter
So
either
you will
way.
provide some wording to our...
I will bring a resolution, yes.
So the agenda deadline for that is next this Thursday, or sorry?
It'll be a week.
Oh, that's right, a week Thursday.
Thank you.
And there is quite a bit of information at FCM, I know about it. There's been recent pronouncements about it, at least on the Twitter feed anyway, about it. So there's probably some stuff you can look at there if you wanted to go to FCM.
Lovely, thank you. And shall I pass something on
Yeah.
to me from FCM?
Sorry, Tom,
Well, I was just going to say that there was a lot of information from FC on that.
so that'll be part of the motion that we'll discuss in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we have 3 items of correspondence. We have a letter from Melanie Costain regarding the advertising on Lisa Karen. And, we have a representative of the Legion here.
Not really.
I think the appropriate thing to do for that would be to refer to the Legion because they're the ones who maintain and deal with the Karen.
Well, I actually had written down here, refer to Comox Legion.
So you're going to make that as a motion?
You want to second that?
Move to second
Say
it?
that right. You stole my agenda.
Okay, so we'll refer that and see what they have to say and ask for them to let us know. All those in favor?
Should say a couple.
Letter from our Minister Sean enclosing the check for $400,000 under the Anderton Park Revitalization Project.
Someone received that.
Second.
Seconded, and we already have sent a thank you letter actually in anticipation of giving the check, so there we go. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And lastly, the letter from the Aspen Park Parent Advisory Committee requesting a donation of prizes. So receipt of that letter, and staff would recommend that we are able to provide them with 2 safety vests.
I'll move receipt and the recommendation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further discussion on that? Oh, sorry, Council Fletcher.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent initiative, both programs that they speak to. I'm glad we can support it in a small way. And I also feel like it's another reason why I feel like it would be valuable to have the school board rep come before us, and maybe we can encourage other schools such as Rob Road and Brooklyn to take up these initiatives as well. So.
We have, as you know, extended an invitation to the school board, and I did speak to one of their trustees after Fire Hall grad, and was told that they would be getting back to us shortly, but like us, they're working through their budget, and so I imagine that sometime after that we'll hear from them, but we do have it with the clerk and the administrator to diarize your follow. Okay, any further? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, reports from members of council. We'll start with Councilor Kenda.
Yeah. Well, we had a Comox Cup meeting, and we met with the Shellfish people and the new owners of Smitty's, who are quite excited about the event coming. And one of the neat things that's coming up this year is we're hoping, or I think we've actually got the minor hockey swap on the same weekend, so that should bring lots of kids down for that. So, and Shellfish Festival, we're concerned a little bit because they have their gala evening on the Friday night, and we would be doing some stuff with roads, so we pushed back the road closure so that they can get everybody down, so that worked out rather well. And I was also at the grand opening of the Vancouver Island Visitor Center, where I got to be the greeter at the door and the cake cutter and pretty much anything that needed to be done at that. And that was a very successful day. We had over 3,000 people come. I think the only people that were angry were Slag Lumber, because we had so much overflow parking in their parking lot. But it was highly successful. The snowbirds came by, and one comment that we heard up there was, we don't have the visitor information signs up, and those are in the works. They are with the Ministry of Highways, and they're going through the approval process at each community. We were hoping to have had them up by now, but the wheels of government do turn slowly sometimes. So that's where that's at. But that was a great day and a really good day for the Comox Valley in general, I think, as everybody really enjoyed themselves at that. And we also had a BIA marketing meeting, and we are meeting with them again tomorrow night so that we can move a little bit forward with our strategic planning. And I know our staff is also waiting for us to have a meeting with the building owners and developers downtown. And that's on the agenda for tomorrow night. So we'll be on that.
Okay, Councilor Fletcher.
Thank you. Since we last met, I attended Philbrick Heritage Lodge and Park board meeting on behalf of Councilor Swift in their absence, and it was nice to attend that board again and go homely tech. Later that evening, I attended the Comox Town Residents Association annual general meeting, and Comox citizen Tom Gish-Lavoie presented the Living City Challenge, which is always an interesting concept to see. In addition, on the 24th, I attended an emergency preparedness workshop up in Campbell River. Our CAO attended and Price attended. So if you haven't had the opportunity
opportunity to do those. It was very well worth the hours spent on it. Last Thursday, of course, I attended the hospital funding announcement by the Premier, and it's up to the city of Courtenay, I guess, to see to the zoning there. Last Friday night, I attended the Comox Valley Art Gallery opening of their new exhibition, which was with the Emily Carr students, and another piece that was called What to Wear with What to Wear. I really encourage you to go there. There's one particularly fascinating sculpture piece that I would have taken home with me and fitted in my house. And yesterday, I attended the Comox Valley Regional District Board.
Great. Mr. Swift?
I attended the Comox Valley Hospice Society board meeting, and on another evening I attended a film that was co-sponsored by St. Joseph's and Hospice Society on life before death, and it took place at the Stanhagen Theatre. I attended the fire education sessions for the grade 7 students, and Gord was good enough to take me around to all the stations, and I thought it was just excellent. And the kids were very engaged in the process, so you can tell it was well done. I went to the hospital announcement last week, and I attended the gala at the Visitor Center on Saturday night.
Councillor Price?
Yes, I attended the Comox Town Residents Association AGM, and I did go to the Courtenay Library where they had a workshop, artists and information on participatory democracy and how you can have an informed citizenry and come up with some very good community decisions. I took the workshop in Campbell River that Director Fletcher mentioned, and it was very good, and I think we were the first ones on their test run, and I think we definitely improved it. The second part, the hands-on scenario, was actually where there was some meat to it, so you may get a shortened one and a more lively one. So, but it was certainly worth going to. And I also attended the grand opening of the Vancouver Island Visitor Centre and participated in the ribbon cutting and brought back some ribbon for the town.
Great. Okay. And Councillor Kim?
Good. On Thursday, as a board member for the Community Justice Centre, we hosted a dinner for a Palestinian doctor speaking on reconciliation and forgiveness. I went on to hear him speak at Mark Isfeld in front of a full gym house there, very well received. On Friday, I too was at the Emily Carr Art Studio showing at the Comox Valley Art Studio there, a wonderful presentation. Saturday, I was at the opening of the new Tourist Information Center, along with some other councillors and dignitaries, and was smart enough to ride my bike there and not have to worry about parking, so probably the wisest person there. And on Friday, I'll be off to Powell River to the elected officials workshop in regards to safety and emergency.
Councillor Tom?
Well, I too attended the new hospital announcement with the Honourable Christy Clark. Yesterday I went to a regional board meeting, and last week I attended Comox Valley Housing Task Force meeting, as well as a meeting of a subcommittee of the Comox Valley Housing Task Force. That's what I've been doing.
Great. Okay, I'll just report, I participated along with our Director of Finance and our Administrator in a telephone conference call regarding the RCMP contract to answer any questions that mayors and staff had across the province around the cost, salary increases. It appears that we factored most of that into our budget in the year ahead, and of course, as mentioned earlier, we have signed the contract for the next 20 years with a 2-year opt-out provision should a council decide to opt out and have its own police force at some point. The Saturday, I think a week ago Saturday, was the Cabana Zuka by the Francophone Association. I attended that along with Mayor Janglin and our MLA. Also that evening I attended the Vancouver Island Mountain Sports Center fundraiser barbecue up at Mount Washington. Met later that week with a couple of citizens, Jeff Thomas and also James Robinson, who we know. Both of them are interested in different aspects of our waterfront enhancements, so I told them that some plans were in the work to do some conceptual design down there, and they're interested to follow that. The hospital's funding announcement, as mentioned, I attended. Also, last Friday, BC Policing Plan Roundtable discussion in Nanaimo all day with other mayors and service providers working in the criminal justice system. And it was quite an interesting process to go around different groups and talk about different issues. Some things that are working in various communities, some things that are not. So we'll see what comes out of that. That policing plan will unfold as further public consultation proceeds. Visitor Center Evening Gala I attended. And then last Sunday, attended both the lawn bowling opening over in Courtenay and the Snow Surf Awards here, full crowd here down at Marina Park. And yes, I was also at the Community Justice Center speakers event at Marcusville, which was a very powerful speech, I must say. So that is my report. No other late items. Media questions. Media. Public questions at this time. Don Davis.
If I may, Your Worship, thank you. 2 items, if I may. I came here with one particular thing on my mind, and that was the money that you're putting into the water meter program. Now, when I first mentioned water meters, there was a speculation that a vast number of people would be able to save money if they went on the water meter program. So, there's only 2 of us in our family. I learned that if you don't water your grass, you don't have to cut it. And if you quit washing your car, to save water. So I thought the essence of the water metering program was to save water. So I went on the volunteer program. So you all know we went through 4 campaigns. Very contentious issue, water meters. And I'm being a pretty complacent guy. I'm sort of ambivalent as an individual. And as a politician, I'm going to go with the facts of the matter. And the problem with it was, when we were going through the campaigns, we didn't know what the water meter rate was going to be. But now we know what the water rate will be. So I get my letter, I go on the computer, I do a lot of ciphering, which you know is not too easy for me. I'm not arithmetically strong. And I determined that I will be saving the grand sum of $3.80. So I don't think that I'll sign up for the water meter program. Now, I don't know if that is a question. I guess it's a question, period. But I guess the question would be, why do we continue to put money into a program that doesn't seem to have any sense of fruition? There doesn't seem to be... When I thought about it, I said, well, I'll go down and ask the treasurer what formula he used. Because I would have thought, in our circumstances, we would save money for sure. He said, well, part of the problem was he didn't use all the water system. He only used the people who were on the meter. So to use Councillor Grant's phrase about oranges and apples, we should be using the whole system, because if I'm using 19 cubic meters and the mean average, the mean was 12, that put me just a little bit above the middle. So I think that I should have been saving more than $3.80. So I would put it back to council to challenge the treasurer to come up with a formula that would get more people to be on the metered system if you're going to persist in that. Because if, with the way it looks, probably half of the meters that were put in won't be charged the metered rate. So if it was $1.6 million, well, I can do that arithmetic, $800,000 worth of water meters, they're doing nothing in the ground. That's not a question, it was just a statement.
Okay.
My second point is a question. Would, in light of the fact of all the infill and the rezoning, which I think densification is a good thing, I think we lost sight of one thing, and I did make mention of this during the OCP process. And now I've got lots of time on my hands, I walk further and further, and lo and behold, we're going up and down Rob Road, and people are buying them lots, cutting the trees down. Now, my greatest fear is, I live on Buena Vista, and it's a pretty nice avenue. Most of the most significant trees in the town of Comox are in the downtown core, either on Comox Avenue, Buena Vista, or streets closely thereby. So when we go to do the infilling, what's going to happen? The trees are going to have to go. Now, I'm not suggesting that the people not be allowed to cut their trees down if they want to, because there is a way around it. Maybe we could strengthen the tree bylaw to include certain diameter trees. If you're going to do any building on that lot, be it upsizing your house or downsizing for suites or infilling or whatever, they could possibly work with the planner and get some concessions for lot sizes. I know that they did it for Valentine Place. They would give them an extra story and move the lot lines a little bit and save some very significant trees. So would someone, council, please take it upon themselves to bring it to council to try to strengthen the tree bylaw, to try to save some of the very significant stands of trees that we have in our community. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I know that our planning department does work with developers that do require rezoning to look at protection of trees. As far as the tree protection bylaw, currently it applies to parcels greater than half a hectare and to trees on that size parcel greater than 8 inches in width, that's the breast height. And of course, as I mentioned on our rezoning, it comes into play as far as the land use decisions and the density, the form, and character. So they'll come into play on rezonings. As far as generally speaking, if somebody's adding on to their house or something like that, it wouldn't necessarily come into play. So, planner?
One of the OCP implementations is to look at our tree protection bylaw and strengthen those provisions, and it is part of our work plan. It was included in the 5-year capital budget. It's not on for this year,
okay.
But I believe it's 2013 or 2014.
All right.
So it is over the next 5 years. It is targeted for revision to strengthen its provisions.
Yeah, I had a discussion earlier this week with another resident in another area of town that was concerned about trees in a renovation project. And certainly there are limitations to that bylaw currently. But I do recall during the OCP process that there were public concerns around form and character, density, and tree protection. So thank you for that information, Mr. Planner. And we'll move on to any further questions from the members of the public that are here. And otherwise, your motion to adjourn will be in order.